business, they probably should have a review strategy. I think every local business should have a review strategy. There are only a handful that like it just doesn't make sense to have reviews. I won't say whose those are. That's for you to figure out. But it's very similar to determining if you should have local listings. That's similar to determining if you should have some sort of review strategy. But there are some types of businesses, like think Amazon for example, where it makes sense to get reviews on individual products. Obviously, they don't have local listings, but they still want to get reviews. So really just figuring out what the review strategy should be, and then I think the next big thing is figuring out how your partner organization should try to get those reviews. There are endless ways to figure out how your business can get reviews from their customers. And it's unique to every single type of business. A couple of the easiest ways are, just to ask customers, like I mentioned in the video, that's actually probably really the primary way. But I think what I would look for in, your partner organization analysis is, nailing down exactly how those customers would be asked. Because if your partner organization is a landscaping business, it might be easy just to after you finish the sale, just asking the customer, hey, would you mind just going and leaving a review, just that kind of face-to-face thing, where it's going to be a lot different maybe for a brewery. They might have little stickers or little signs posted somewhere within the actual, place where people come in and, hang out and buy their beer that says, like, visit us on Yelp. So just there are a lot of different ways that businesses can try to get reviews in general. And so I would just explore those and figure out what you want to do. And there are also a lot of tools that can help out with reputation management, managing reviews that we just didn't even go into, I don't think, in any of the videos, just because I don't think those are really going to be helpful for you when you're looking at your partners. A lot of, I noticed a few of the partners do really well at getting reviews, and so having these tools are really just more for like aggregating the reviews and viewing them all in a snapshot. These tools can also help with having to respond to reviews more easily, but I wouldn't really focus on any of those types of tools, but really just like looking at, hey, okay, what's going on with my partner? Do they have any reviews? And what should they do to get more, or what should they do with those existing ones? Do they have some negative ones they need to address? They have some just that they should respond to in general, that sort of thing. And then there's one other element that we didn't really get into in the videos, but I just wanted to share it with you so that you're aware of it. There are other things that you can do with reviews and testimonials. If you remember, testimonials are the reviews that you directly ask customers for to put on your website. So those are kind of self-moderated reviews. There's some on-site elements that you can add to those testimonials to make sure that they're marked up properly. And we didn't really get into that, but I just wanted to let you know that there are some on-site elements that you can use to ensure that that testimonial content is marked up well. But I won't worry about going that advanced into looking into your partners, but just wanted to make you aware of it. So that's all that I wanted to cover. But if you do have any specific like situations that you think are like difficult that you want to look at here right now with your partners regarding reviews, I'm definitely happy to look at those, or just any questions in general.
Okay, is it unmuted?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I play with something for just a second and see if I can get this to work right? Not everything.
Can you hear us now, Gary?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, now try that again.
Test. Still echo.
By the way, this is also great training for working in the business world because like every meeting that you're on, like this happens.
Can you talk to me right now, Carrie?
Yes, I can talk a little bit.
What if you just mute the...
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. It's not letting me mute this one.
Just let me know and I'll talk some more.
It should be coming through here. All right, well, let me put it back on the speakers. And I will just mute the intermediate. Now let's try it.
All right, how about now?
Okay.
Oh, no echo.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, it just means our system isn't working the way it's supposed to. But we got around it.
All right.
Cool.
I think it's going to be on the recording, though.
Oh, okay. Any other questions for Carrie about testimonials? Hey, Carrie, how do you feel about it's like organic reviews that might show up, paid reviews, and what should lawyers do about Yelp?
Ooh. Yeah. Paid reviews, definitely not a huge fan of. It works for some, e-commerce sites like Amazon. Sometimes you can see this was or not a paid review, but they got a free product to leave a review. Google's clearly against paid reviews as far as getting testimonials, put on your website. It's really difficult to get, value from testimonials anyway as it is. Because if you want to, this is getting into the weeds here, but if you want to mark them up with the markup that I was talking about and potentially get rich snippet information in the search results, Google just updated their policies to make it really difficult to do in that fashion, just because it's moderated and there's a lot of influence from the business. Yelp for lawyers are like any sensitive business. Do you mean just because of the nature of their practice, or because people are fond of?
You can talk about it more generally. I just know for lawyers it's a big thing.
Yeah, it is. People are fond of tearing into lawyers actually a lot online in general. But the other aspect of it is sensitive nature of what lawyers do, and the same goes for any other type of business, like a family counseling business. Sorry, not any other type of business. A few other types of businesses like family counseling or some others where it's really difficult to get reviews. Like if you do searches for some of those local businesses in certain areas, like if you have 3 reviews, you're doing really well because people don't want to talk about, yep, I went to counseling for this and the counselor was great. So you have to get creative for those types of businesses. Thankfully for all you guys, most of you guys who it's reasonable to get reviews, they're not that difficult of businesses that you're working with.
What about if we have negative reviews on Yelp?
Yeah, perfect. Negative reviews are actually a huge opportunity for businesses, because I have seen some of the worst negative reviewers turn into some of the most loyal customers. It all goes back to what Casey was saying with just overwhelm people with customer service. Like, do everything you can to make it up to them. Respond to the review and say, hey, come back in. We'll give you a deal off of our product or service. And people just eat that up. And other people who are not the reviewers see that and they're like, oh, wow, these guys must be really great to work with. Obviously, it doesn't work with a handful of, things like, I don't know, if you had just a terrible, I'm trying to think of an example for one of your partner organizations. I don't know, like someone who has a real estate group, like if you just hate your house, that's a pretty difficult thing to make right, but for most things it works.
I think that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Casey, what we should have done is found some really great reputation examples for the presidential candidates for today's class. I'm sure we could have had some fun with that.
Yeah. Reputation management was not everyone's strong suit in this election.
Think about managing their social media profiles. I mean, that must be a nightmare.
There's a question on here about negative reviews.
Yeah, so if you leave a negative review and the business gives you something, will more people leave negative review? That is a good question, Peter. So a good business owner is going to, well, okay, I gotta be careful how I say this. So it depends on the type of business. If it's a type of business where the owner or manager or someone has a good relationship, recurring relationship with their customer or their clients, they're going to know when a review is falsified anyway. A lot of the types of businesses where people would do something like, well, I'm backpedaling now. I guess I'm thinking of businesses that keep records of who are their customers, but if it's something like a restaurant, they're just not going to know. I guess I haven't seen people do that. Try to leave a negative review just so that they can get business, or I'm sorry, get a good deal. But at the same time, a lot of people who leave negative reviews and the business owner follows up with them. I just hear stories of business owners saying that, like, yeah, I followed up, but they never responded, like they didn't take up my offer. So I guess that it's really rare when I see them take up their offer. But apparently Miranda's seen it, so it's happened somewhere.
Kind of like the idea of somebody dropping a fly in their soup when they're almost done with it, see if they can get it.
Yeah.
Well, reputation management is a strange thing, whether it's social or in real life. For instance, there's a real estate company in this region that's extremely political, and when it comes to like the presidential elections, they'll have up all of the signs right in front of their business, and it's like, are you really trying to alienate half of the people in the community that are your potential customer? I mean, just like in real life, in social, you have to be smart about what you're doing, and I mean, if your goal is to be more political than have business, then go right ahead. But it's like every election cycle this happens, and I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I think well, in the first place, even before social media or the internet, that probably was not a wise idea, but just having all these different avenues has just maximized the risk of doing that, and that doesn't seem very wise. But reputation management in general, like the nutshell that I think I mentioned in one of the videos, is like running your business well. That is what reputation is, and you're going to have those outliers of people who just are not satisfied, but that's not usually going to destroy your business, and usually is an opportunity. So the unfortunate thing for us as digital marketers and social media managers is that we don't control the business. Even if we are an internal social media manager like Casey is, he doesn't have full control over what Thomson Reuters does. And so just like, if you're working with us, what's that?
Not yet.
Not yet, right. Just like if you're working with a local business, you can't change how they run their business. So that's kind of like that line where, like, when I'm consulting with our clients, like, I want to tell them, like, they're complaining about something. I'm like, yeah, but you probably didn't treat that person well. That's why you weren't running your business well. But I don't really have the authority to tell them that. Unless you're a business consultant for them. So, any other questions?
Are we back to the slideshow then?
Yep. I think I just have one more slide.
Okay, let me share. It's not visible to the distance.
So the other thing I just wanted to touch on was like actually getting a job when you guys graduate. First of all, I think that because you've gone through this class, you're going to be really well positioned for a digital marketing and comms role. Most of the people that we interview come from either a marketing background or comms background. But it's kind of amazing to me how few have actually had a lot of digital exposure to common practices or things throughout school. So first off, that puts you guys in a nice position that way. Other than that, getting some subject matter expertise I think is always good. So whatever area you're looking into going marketing too. Having that along with visual experience is really good. If you are going to be a digital marketer, one of the things that I find when we look at applicants is people who come in for like a social media manager job, and their LinkedIn profile is not totally filled out. They don't have a picture. They've never been on Twitter. I mean, like, from the parking lot, start a Twitter account before you come in. I mean, not quite that simple, but I think you have to live it a little bit. Like some of the things you could do, there's like LinkedIn Pulse where you could like, it's like a blogging platform within LinkedIn. So like one thing you guys could do, you've had this great experience, or even if it was a bad experience, you've had an experience with working with clients already through this class. And that's something, depending on how much you can disclose about who you worked with and whatnot, you at least generally talk about that experience and write a LinkedIn Pulse post about it. So that when I am an employer thinking about that, like, oh, here's somebody fresh out of college, but they've already done some work. Here, they saw 11% increase in the click-through rate. Whatever you can like share that's actually something like, oh, they did something, it's measurable, that if they're working for me, they're going to be able to deliver similar results. But I do look pretty closely at people's sort of digital acumen when we're thinking about who we're going to hire. Because you can be a great marketer, great writer, it's always important. But something to demonstrate that you're actually digitally savvy, which we assume that most people who apply for a digital marketing position are. But if your social profiles, and this is kind of where it ties into social media, don't demonstrate that, you're not really taking advantage of everything you're doing. So well, that's one of the big things. The other thing is, I just think that right now, in the marketing world generally, in the communications world, in companies all over, there's a lot of sort of change management around sort of digital communications and media. It's taking place where the way that teams have been set up in marketing in a lot of companies aren't really set up in a way to fully leverage digital assets and digital things. So people who can come in and kind of understand what that looks like and figure out how to help the company make that transition into being like digital first or mobile first, whatever kind of company you want to be, are a huge asset. So I think that change management, the way you can demonstrate like this is what the future should look like, this is how we go from being a company that relied on flyers and direct mail to a company who has great SEO and is doing all kinds of cool things. The more that you can kind of explain that story to people, I think the better off you'll be. Because that's a huge thing for everybody right now, is how are we doing this digital evolution and this change management around it. So it's kind of buzzwordy, sorry about that, but that's like the sorts of things that when we're looking for people to hire Thomson Reuters are kind of what we're looking for, I think, everywhere. So that's my quick spiel. Anybody have any like professional development or other kinds of questions? And feel free to reach out to me afterwards when you guys are thinking about jobs and stuff. I'm more than happy to give any advice or help you for spots in Thomson Reuters show places. I talk to a lot of people around the Twin Cities who work in digital marketing. So always happy to help. And the last part is questions, but we've kind of been doing a lot of questions throughout. So just want to open it up. If anybody has any final questions, what we're here for. We're not leaving until 8, so let's just sit here and stare at each other until you ask some questions.
I have a question. When you write up your site report, do you, like, say you've had conversations with the company in the past about certain things, when you write up your report, do you just make it all informational, or can you write it up like you're talking to them?
Well, one of the things, if you watched my video that I posted on Saturday, one of the things that I'm going to be looking for, this is Kevin talking over here, I don't know if you can see me back in the corner or not, but one of the things that I look at is how well you're doing at educating them. So that's one of the things that this is. There's sort of two audiences. There's the audience that's related to this class, which is the folks from Thomson Reuters and myself. And what we're looking at is how much you've learned and your ability to demonstrate what you've learned. The other audience is your partner organization, who is unlikely to have much savvy. And so what you need to do for them is to take the opportunity within each section of your final project and educate them about what is on-site and why does it matter. And so you sort of have to have this intro section that talks about, this is what on-site means, this is why it matters, this is how we measure it, these are the tools we use.
Right.
And by the way, this is what we found.
Can we incorporate, like, they've expressed feelings about certain things?
Sure. I mean, you're doing a presentation to them, so that's the ultimate audience. So yeah, I would say yes. I mean, that's part of what you've gathered, especially in areas like the social and the video. If they're not really doing a lot of video, but you've gathered information, that's that relationship that you have with them. That's essentially is data. It's quantitative or qualitative data, not quantitative data. But yeah, bring that in. You're trying to tell the story here, and you don't want to leave out anything that's important. Like you said that you wanted to be more involved in social, but you don't have any goals. So yeah, absolutely. If it's an important part of the story, use it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay. Last call for questions online or in the room.
There's a question in there.
Okay. Do you have some growth methods on Snapchat for business?
I'll tell you, Snapchat is one. We came up with a Snapchat playbook this summer, which was when I said we worked with our interns on it. And our decision for Snapchat was not to create an account initially because it just wasn't a good fit for our company. What we decided to do instead, we had this marketing campaign where we took over Grand Central Station in New York. So we bought full ad buy for every billboard in Grand Central Station, which was expensive. But what we also did was we created a Snapchat filter. So we weren't ready to dive into Snapchat fully, but that was a way that we could leverage some of the other things that we were doing and get some traction in Snapchat. Gatorade did a really good filter where Gatorade might have a Snapchat account, I'm not sure, but before they had an account, they made one where it looked like you were like dumping a bucket of Gatorade on somebody, like they're away. So as far as like growth for Snapchat, I wish I knew. If anybody has a great one, let me know. We haven't kind of figured out how it works for our business yet.
I think the answer with any of these new channels that come out is that if you're making a commitment to be a part of that channel, is to be a part of that channel systematically. You can't go out and set up the Snapchat channel and expect it to grow unless you are actively participating in that channel. And that goes true for any channel, whether it's social or video or, that's true of any. If you're going to be out there in this content world, you have to put content out there and you have to do it regularly because there's that long exponential growth curve where you have to be involved with this for quite a while before you start seeing that lift. And so each time you post something, if you get one or two people at the beginning, then you're seeing that success. But the problem is that everybody wants to come in at that exponential growth phase where they want to cut out that first 18 to 24 months of doing it and just get to the point where all of a sudden it starts paying off. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I wish my retirement account worked that way. I would like to come in at the exponential growth without having had to do the 30 years of payments to my retirement account first.
Yeah, just two other really quick thoughts. One is, part of that is us deciding as a company what channels work for us. Like Snapchat is probably not at this point working for us. Well, like New York Stock Exchange is on there, so it works for some people. Like maybe it'll work for us at some point. We're not on Pinterest. We're not other places. But one thing for Snapchat that I know a lot of people do with great success is just use it for events. So we're not going to try to be on Snapchat all the time, whatever. We have events, and that's Snapchat. We have something going on live. So I think if you're looking for a place to kind of start, that's what we've talked about starting, is when we have live events, either that we're sponsoring or hosting.
There's another question up there. What are the key metrics to show an ROI on social media?
So the most important metrics for me, kind of starting with like if you can figure out, if you're an online business, you can, with some analytics help, actually start to do some revenue-based ROI and actually track what clicks came in through your social channels. And then if you're actually selling things online, you can attribute that all the way through. There's ways to do that with Google Analytics as well as some of the other more expensive software platforms that are out there. But that's sort of like the holy grail, right? Just showing like numbers. Moving a step up from that would be engagement. So, we talked about kind of the vanity metrics of followers to begin with, and if that's where you're starting, having some followers, it's not a bad thing. It's a proxy for how healthy your account is. But really looking at engagement, what your click-through rate is, that's probably the most important thing that I look at. Click-through rate for all of our tweets. So I look every month. We have thousands of tweets every month. And I look for the top 10% or so that have the highest click-through rate. Now that can be different because we have different numbers of followers. So some accounts that have 100,000 followers compared to accounts that have 100 followers, like, you can have different volume of clicks. And I look at that as well. But the actual click-through rate kind of tells you, all right, we only had 100 followers, but we had this many clicks. So something's going well with that content. So that engagement, the click-through rates, and then the retweets is also the other engagement metric that I look at a lot, just because that shows that you are putting stuff out there that people want to share. So if you're going to do like a quick health check, looking at your click-through rate and your retweet rate, I think are great places to start.
If I can climb in here, Peter, I've had this discussion. In fact, I presented at a conference earlier this semester, and we were talking about social media. And there was a guy from a bank who's like, well, how do I measure my ROI? And I was like, well, what are you trying to accomplish with your social media campaign? And it's like, let's step away from social media. What's your ROI when you put a float in the Memorial Day parade? What are you trying to do with that? You're not trying to get them to necessarily come into your bank today. You're not trying to get them to set up an account today. What you're trying to do is you're working on a brand. And so you really have to go back to, and we were talking about this a little while ago, you really have to come back to your goals, because you can't begin to get an ROI until you know what return you're looking for. So the easiest thing to get an ROI on is if you're trying to use that Snapchat to drive commerce. It's like, okay, I've got a Snapchat out here for a widget that I want to sell you. You saw it, you went to my site, you put it in the cart, you paid for it. But it very seldom works like that. Normally, with social, you're really managing your brand. You're trying to develop trust. You're trying to establish a relationship. And how do you measure that? Well, you have to start with some kind of benchmarks. And then you watch to see how those benchmarks are affected. But you also have to be realistic that that is an effect of all of your social media, your face-to-face media, your donation to the Boys and Girls Club, all those things that the company does. So it's really hard to isolate ROI on something that isn't a tangible click-through to a financial transaction kind of thing.
I'll throw a couple of things out there real quickly. This wasn't our metric, but I was talking to somebody recently. And they found, so for social selling, so this is where you get your employees engaged. If they had a salesperson who was connected on LinkedIn with the customer that they ended up selling to, it shortened their sales cycle from 90 days to 60 days.
Wow.
So they were able to look at all their sales and all their connections, and on average, it shortened from 90 to 60, which is a huge savings for our business. And
That's a really sophisticated listening system right there,
yeah.
too.
So yeah, there's some more, and some polling and things that we do around our brand, but that's a little bit more high level. So
yeah.
I was really impressed. That was one that was like, I'm going to take that back to our salespeople, and they're going to be excited about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't happen upon that. That had to be a systematic looking at all the efforts and finding ways of tying them back to all the efforts, which is an extremely sophisticated approach to what you're doing with the social media. And so, that comes down to budget. How much budget do you have to put into the social media. And then the other side of that is, what is the opportunity cost of not being out there? Okay. I see Peter is typing. Is there anything else that you want to say, or Carrie, you want to say, or?
Just that parade float example is brilliant, Dr. Tharp, and I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Good. About time I gave you guys something.
So a little bit ago, my company, they wanted to create a Twitter page, and so they had someone who was going to manage that. And so he originally created it, and he was posting the content along with, like, we have mainly our main focus is Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, he kind of stopped, and then what they just did was link every time the Facebook page posts something, it posted to Twitter. So basically, it shows the first two lines and then a link to Facebook. And now they haven't really done much with that. Should a focus more be like, if they're not going to use Twitter, to just delete the account, or should we just encourage them more to actually start using the Twitter account more?
That's a great question. If they don't have the capacity to run it well, I would say it's better to shut it down than to not run it well. There are probably some easier ways. There's ways to hook up an RSS feed directly to a Twitter feed and like just automatically tweet out your blog posts. I wouldn't recommend that as like a full social media program. But there might be ways that are a little bit that come out a little bit better than just linking it to Facebook like that, because I know exactly what you're talking about and I really work with it. So if you're publishing content anyways, somewhere online, like via a blog or a website or something, there's some pretty like low friction ways to just feed Twitter if that's all you want to do. But at that point, I'd be like, all right, let's focus on Facebook. We're mostly interested in Facebook. Let's maybe even just delete the tweets and keep the account and have a link to Facebook. You know, have a link. Add a link to your Twitter account that says, hey, for Facebook. Which isn't awesome, but it's better than having like a bunch of crap. And then people can find you there. It's sort of like, have you guys seen like when people use Instagram more like a web page, like they have all their pictures kind of lined up so it like looks like one big thing. Like, all right, we're not going to post pictures here. We're just going to use this as a placeholder because people might look for us on Instagram, but we actually want to send them to this other place. So you can do something like that. It's like use Twitter as this placeholder. Say, just go to Facebook rather than trying to post content that. That's a great question. I have it all the time. We have accounts that like get abandoned, so we have to listen for them. Like anything that people haven't posted to in 6 months, and I go back and like explain my why they should.
Okay, so there's a question there about. Wow, can you read it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think it was Kerry that taught me about Facebook advertising. Maybe he has the answer to this.
Casey probably has a better answer.
Go ahead. We do Facebook paid ads, but the way that we usually would do them would be to start off with a small. So first of all, for paid ads, you almost have to do, depending on the size of your audience, paid ads on Facebook, because they've just throttled the organic reach of company pages on Facebook. So no matter how many followers you have, almost none of them are going to see it unless you pay them ads. So what we would usually do is look at 2 or 3 different things that we might want to promote, put a small budget around them to begin with, see which one takes off, and then put a bunch more money behind it. But then we're pretty active in looking at what our cost per click is, and what our rates are, and kind of trying to optimize along with that. So I mean, I think that the less technical answer about that is just monitoring really tightly to see if you're getting a good benefit for what you're paying. Carrie, I don't know if you have a more in-depth response. More specific.
Well, I was actually trying to pull up something that Karen might have, just because Karen will be talking about paid advertising in general. I think that would be a good one, Peter, if you maybe want to post it on the SharePoint site. I don't have anything to add to what Casey said, though. They're always changing things, though, in as far as how their algorithm works with the paid ads in Facebook, just because it's exploded recently. So
yeah,
And a lot of that, both on Facebook and other accounts, depends on your audience size. So there, like you reach a point with your audience size where no matter how much you pay, you can't get into a big book on it. So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah. And the thing is, Facebook figured out that that's how they can make money by not letting you organically reach everybody who wants to see you. And so then they charge you, and so they've sort of been just ratcheting that up ever since they've done that, which has been, what, about 2.5 years? It's been ratcheting up, and it's just been getting hard. Organic doesn't work very well on Facebook anymore for business. And I mean, a year or so ago, it was down to like 16% is the best that you could do, unless you're way below that now. Yeah. So unless your people start sharing and commenting, because that's the one metric that can, you put that, pay that out there, and how well it performs is based upon what the people that see it do. So because every time your people give you a like or a share, then that's that many more of your people that see it. That is the organic that's left with, paid Facebook. But I don't do it every day, but I know that it's challenging and getting more challenging every day, and it's becoming a place you throw money. Good question, though.
Yeah.
All right. So should I show you guys where we're at with the election?
Who won?
The Russians. All right, I'm going to cut off the recording, but just in case it goes into anything political, we'll talk to you guys later.